Your avoidant ex will not see this coming. How to take your power back. Listen up, because today is the day everything changes. I'm talking to you, the one who's been stuck in the cycle, replaying old conversations, wondering what you could have done differently. You gave your heart, and what did you get? Hot and cold behavior, distance, excuses, a love that felt just out of reach, and now they're gone, or maybe they're still hovering, but either way, you feel powerless. Let me tell you something. When you chase, when you beg, when you hope, they'll wake up and realize your worth. You're operating from a place of scarcity. And people feel that. They sense when you don't value yourself. And guess what? If you don't value you, why should they? The moment you wait for them to validate you, you've already given them control over your emotions. Every time you check your phone, hoping for a message, every time you replay the last conversation in your head, wondering what you could have done differently, you're putting your power in their hands. It's an invisible leash that keeps you tied to someone who has already pulled away. And that dynamic, it's exactly what keeps them in control and you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt. When you give away your power like this, you make them the center of your world. They dictate how you feel, whether you have a good day or a bad one, and whether you believe you're worthy or not. That's not love, that's dependency. And the truth is, the more you lean into that dependency, the more you push them further away, because people, especially avoidants, can feel when you're energetically clinging to them. They sense when you're holding on, waiting for their validation, and that makes them withdraw even more. Think about the energy of someone who is confident, self-assured, and deeply rooted in their own worth. That person isn't waiting. They aren't checking their phone every 5 minutes. They aren't trying to decipher mixed signals or wondering what their ex is thinking. They are too busy living. They know they are enough. With or without that person, that is the energy of someone who owns their power. And when you step into that, everything shifts. The key to reclaiming your power is recognizing that it was never theirs to begin with. They didn't give it to you, so they can't take it away. Your worth doesn't come from their approval. Your value isn't dependent on whether they choose you or not. It's something you carry within you, and the moment you wake up to that reality is the moment you start breaking free from the grip they have on your mind. So how do you do this? You start by cutting off the emotional supply. That means no more waiting for them to text, no more checking their social media, and no more making decisions based on what might get a reaction from them. This isn't about playing games. It's about truly letting go and focusing on you, because the moment you redirect your energy away from them and toward yourself, you stop feeding the dynamic that made you feel powerless in the first place. Next, you shift your mindset. Instead of thinking, I need them to see my worth, you tell yourself, I already know my worth. Instead of asking, why don't they love me the way I love them? You say, I deserve someone who shows up fully, not halfway. These shifts may seem small, but they are powerful. They rewire your brain to focus on abundance instead of lack. Then you take action. You start pouring into yourself. You hit the gym not to get revenge, but because your body deserves to feel strong. You pick up a new hobby, not as a distraction, but because life is too short to put your growth on hold for someone else. You surround yourself with people who remind you of your power instead of those who feed your insecurities. And here's the magic. When you do this, something unexpected happens. That avoidant ex who seemed so distant, they start to notice. Because when you stop chasing, when you stop giving them the power to dictate your emotions, you become more attractive, not just to them, but to yourself. And when you are truly in love with your own life, when you are so deeply rooted in your own worth, you realize something even more powerful. You don't need them to see it at all. Because the person you were waiting for to recognize your value, that was always you. When you believe that your ex is the only person who can give you the love, validation, and happiness you crave, you create an illusion of scarcity. It's the mindset that tells you, I'll never find someone like them again, or they were the best thing that ever happened to me. That belief system traps you in a state of desperation, and desperation is one of the most repelling energies a person can give off. Scarcity makes you think that love is rare, that connection is difficult to find, and that if you let go, you will be left with nothing. But here's the truth. Love is not scarce. Connection is not scarce. What's scarce is self-belief. What's rare is the ability to stand in your own power and say, I deserve more than breadcrumbs. The moment you start to see your ex as the only source of fulfillment, you lose sight of all the possibilities waiting for you. You close yourself off from new experiences, new relationships, and even the deeper version of yourself that is trying to emerge from this pain. Think about how people behave when they feel abundant. They move differently. They walk into a room with confidence because they're not looking for approval. They already approve of themselves. They don't chase because they know that what's meant for them will naturally be drawn to them. They don't cling to someone who doesn't show up fully because they know their worth isn't tied to whether or not another person chooses them. But when you believe love is scarce, you act from a place of fear. Fear makes you check your phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a message that may never come. Fear makes you tolerate mixed signals, excuses, and inconsistency because you think it's better than nothing. Fear makes you hold on to memories, replaying them over and over, convincing yourself that you'll never experience something that good again. And that fear is exactly what keeps you stuck. Now, let's flip the script. Imagine for a second that love is abundant. Imagine that confidence and self-worth are magnetic. Imagine that the energy you put out determines what you attract. If you truly believe that, would you still be chasing someone who isn't fully invested in you? Would you still be begging for their attention? Or would you stand tall and recognize that the right person won't need convincing? The paradox of attraction is this. When you operate from a place of abundance, when you stop acting as if this one person is your only shot at love, you naturally become more desirable. People are drawn to those who exude confidence, who know they have options, and who refuse to settle for less than they deserve. That energy is powerful. It's undeniable. And the moment you step into it, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, you're no longer the person waiting for them to text back. You're too busy living. You're no longer analyzing their every word, trying to decode their feelings. You're focused on your own growth. And ironically, that's often the moment they start paying attention because they feel the shift. When you were acting from scarcity, they felt pressured, overwhelmed, maybe even suffocated. But when you move into abundance, they start to feel something else. Curiosity, intrigue, even attraction. But by the time they notice, you've already realized that your happiness was never in their hands to begin with. You've stepped into your power, and once you do that, you never go back, because when you know you are the prize, you stop trying to convince anyone else of it. You just live it. And the right people, the ones who truly see your worth, will always respond to that. The greatest shift you can make after a breakup is realizing that your power doesn't come from getting closure, proving your worth, or making your ex regret leaving. Your power comes from transformation. Most people stay stuck in the pain, waiting for some external validation, an apology, a second chance, or a moment where their ex realizes they lost someone incredible. But the real victory isn't about them at all. It's about you stepping into a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more magnetic than ever before. When you focus on your own growth, something incredible happens. You stop chasing. You stop wondering what they're thinking. You stop making them the focal point of your life. Instead, you turn all that energy inward and start building the life you always wanted. You start doing the things you once put on hold for them. You invest in yourself, whether that's through fitness, learning new skills, or deepening your emotional intelligence. You surround yourself with people who uplift you instead of those who feed your insecurities. And as you do this, you naturally become more attractive, not just to others, but to yourself. Think about it. What's more powerful? Waiting by your phone, obsessing over whether they'll reach out, or stepping into your best self and creating a life so full that you no longer care whether they do? The second option isn't just empowering, it's magnetic. When you operate at a higher level, people feel it. Your energy shifts, your confidence grows. You walk into a room differently. You're no longer looking for validation because you've already given it to yourself. And that's when something interesting happens. The very person who took you for granted, who didn't appreciate you, starts to notice the shift. Maybe they see it on social media, maybe they hear about it from mutual friends, or maybe they just sense it because energy is real and people can feel when someone they once had control over is no longer waiting around. The tables turn not because you played games, but because you genuinely moved on and became someone they no longer recognize. But here's the key. You're not doing this for them. You're doing it for you. If your transformation is driven by a need to make them regret leaving, then you're still giving them power. You're still acting from a place of attachment. True power comes when you no longer need their regret, their apology, or their acknowledgement to feel whole. It comes when you realize that their absence was the very thing that pushed you toward your growth. Most people want revenge in the form of an ex crawling back, admitting they made a mistake. But the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's self-mastery. It's waking up one day and realizing that you no longer care whether they see your worth because you see it. It's understanding that their departure wasn't a loss, it was a redirection. It's feeling so fulfilled in your own life that the thought of going back no longer even appeals to you. And if they do come back, if they suddenly realize what they lost, you'll be in a place where their return isn't even relevant anymore because you'll have outgrown the version of you that once longed for their validation. You'll have stepped into a new level of confidence, self-respect, and abundance. And from that place, you'll see things clearly. You never needed them to see your worth. You just needed you to see it all along. Avoidant people don't respond to neediness, emotional demands, or pressure. They withdraw the moment they sense someone relying on them for validation, security, or love in a way that feels overwhelming. This isn't necessarily because they're bad people. It's because their core belief is that deep emotional closeness equals a loss of independence or a risk of being hurt. The more you chase, the more they run. The more you beg for their attention, the less they want to give it. That's the painful reality of dealing with an avoidant ex. But here's the good news. Avoidants don't just run from attachment. They are also deeply drawn to strength. They admire confidence. They respect certainty. They are intrigued by people who don't rely on them for emotional security. The moment you shift from seeking their validation to embodying your own self-worth, they start to feel something different: curiosity, attraction, and even respect. When you were in the cycle of chasing, trying to make them see your value, you were giving off an energy that told them you needed them to feel whole. That energy doesn't inspire them to stay, it pushes them away. But when you step back and start living fully without them, when you stop reacting to their hot and cold behavior, something shifts. They begin to wonder why you're no longer affected by their distance. They start to feel the loss of your energy and presence in a way that's different from when you were still emotionally entangled with them. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate them into coming back. It's about truly embodying the mindset that you are whole with or without them. It's about understanding that the more you focus on yourself, the more you naturally create an energy that is attractive to everyone, not just your ex, but to potential new partners, opportunities, and experiences. Think about the most magnetic people you know. Are they the ones chasing, begging, and seeking approval? Or are they the ones who move through life with confidence, knowing their worth without needing external validation? That's the energy you need to step into. It's the energy that makes people take notice. When you fully embrace this mindset, you stop trying to force an avoidant to change. You stop analyzing their every move, wondering if their silence means they miss you or if their return means they're finally ready to commit. Instead, you focus on your own healing, your own power, and your own growth. And in doing so, you change the dynamic entirely. An avoidant is not attracted to someone who makes them feel trapped, emotionally overwhelmed, or needed in a way that feels like a burden. But they are intrigued by someone who is self-sufficient, confident, and unshaken by their inconsistency. They start to wonder why you no longer react the way you used to, why their usual patterns don't seem to affect you anymore. And often, that's when they start coming back, not because you played a game, but because you genuinely stopped needing them. The ultimate power move isn't to make them regret losing you. It's to reach a point where it no longer matters whether they do or not. Because by then you've built a life so full, so rich with purpose and joy, that you're no longer looking backward. You're moving forward stronger than ever, and that's something no avoidant, no ex, no person can take away from you. The biggest mistake people make after a breakup is forgetting their own worth. They spend their time wondering if their ex will ever come back, if they still think about them, or if they made a mistake by walking away. They analyze every little interaction, looking for clues that they still matter, but what they fail to realize is this: they were the prize all along. The moment you put your ex on a pedestal, you forget your own value. You start acting as if their love, their attention, and their validation are what make you worthy. But that's not true. You were worthy before them, and you are worthy after them. When you truly understand that you are the prize, everything changes. You stop chasing because you know someone of your value doesn't need to beg for love. You stop tolerating mixed signals because you recognize that inconsistency is beneath you. You stop hoping they will realize what they lost because deep down, you already know what they lost was you. Think about it. What makes someone attractive? Is it desperation? Is it pleading? Is it someone waiting around hoping to be chosen? No. People are drawn to confidence. They are drawn to those who know their own worth, who walk with certainty, and who don't settle for anything less than what they deserve. The moment you step into that energy, you shift everything. You go from feeling powerless to fully in control of your own life. Here's the truth. Your avoidant ex didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they weren't capable of meeting you where you were. They couldn't handle the depth of what you were offering. And instead of seeing that as a rejection of you, see it for what it really is, a reflection of where they are in their own emotional journey. It was never about you lacking something. It was about them not being able to show up fully. But here's where people get stuck. They internalize the rejection. They believe that if only they had done something differently, if only they had played it cooler, if only they had been less emotional or more detached, their ex would have stayed. That's a lie. The problem was never that you felt deeply, it's that you gave that depth to someone who wasn't ready for it. And instead of changing yourself to fit into their world, the real power move is realizing that you deserve someone who operates at your level. That's what it means to be the prize. It means knowing that your love is valuable, that your presence is a gift, and that anyone who fails to recognize that isn't someone you need to convince. When you truly embody this, you stop looking for validation from the person who walked away. You stop wondering if they miss you, if they'll come back, or if they regret leaving, because by then, you'll be too focused on building a life that makes you happy, and ironically, that's often when they start noticing, when they see that you're no longer chasing, that you've stopped reacting, that you've leveled up in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, that you're no longer waiting. And when that happens, they will feel the loss, not because you tried to make them, but because they will finally understand that they let go of something rare. But by then, it won't even matter to you. Because when you know you're the prize, you don't sit around waiting for someone to see your value. You live it, you embody it. And the right person, the one who truly deserves you, will never need to be convinced of it. At the end of the day, taking your power back isn't about making your avoidant ex regret losing you. It's not about playing games, pretending to move on, or waiting for them to wake up and realize your worth. It's about stepping so deeply into your own confidence and self-respect that their validation no longer matters. It's about understanding that you are the prize, that love is abundant, and that your happiness was never in their hands to begin with. When you stop chasing, when you stop allowing their hot and cold behavior to dictate your emotions, something powerful happens. You free yourself. You shift from being someone who is waiting to be chosen to someone who chooses themselves first. And when you do that, you naturally start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, and the kind of love that doesn't make you question your worth. So whether your ex ever comes back or not is irrelevant, because by the time they realize what they lost, you have already gained something much more valuable, yourself. And that is the ultimate power move. That is the true victory. Thank you for being here today, for showing up for yourself, and for choosing to step into your power. The journey doesn't end here. It begins here. Keep rising, keep growing, and never forget, you were always enough.